This video is sponsored by Electronic Arts. Hey everyone, it is Tanya. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you are new here. Today I am back with a super early access video of me creating the official Plumbird park that launches with the Adventure Awaits expansion pack. I do want to mention this footage was filmed months ago, very early on in this pack's development, so this software is not final. That is also why you're going to be seeing my name bouncing around the screen, and there might be some placeholder items and parts of the world that are not complete yet. But I really hope that you are going to enjoy this build and this little look into the early stages of this pack, where I am getting to explore the new playground equipment, the modular playground equipment, for the first time. I was so excited about this. I love how you can pick all of the different pieces and kind of put them together however you'd like. It's definitely one of the things I was most excited about in this pack. So I was overjoyed when this was one of the lots that I was able to build and provide for Adventure Awaits. So thank you again to the Sims team for allowing me to create this. And if you're thinking about picking up the Adventure Awaits expansion pack, it would mean the world to me if you would consider using my creator code Gryphi at checkout. It's a great way to support me as a creator, and it doesn't cost anything extra. You just enter it at checkout and I'll receive a small commission on your purchase price. So thank you for considering, and thanks to EA for sponsoring this portion of the video. So right now I am grabbing pieces and trying to come up with a cool shape for the playground, but I also was strongly inspired by my childhood playground. I wanted to sort of recreate that in the game as much as I could with the style of this. The one I had growing up was actually made out of metal, but the general shape of it is what I created here, including the large closed slide over on the left side of the build, which also had a roof over it. It didn't look like that though. It was more so like a little enclosed castle, but I am so happy with these items. I feel like they are gorgeous. I'm going to be able to create so many different playgrounds, or even just like backyard play sets with this new set of items in the packs. And it was really cool being able to kind of capture what my childhood playground looked like, because I actually recently visited it and they tore it down and completely redid it. So it doesn't look the same anymore, but it is forever in The Sims now. So that felt very special to me. So being that this was a lot created for an official expansion pack, a lot that's going to be launching with the pack in the world, there were requirements that I needed to include here. So in addition to a playground, I also needed to include a pool, as there is a new pool slide as well as a diving board that come with this pack. They're not placed down yet because at this point in building, I didn't have access to them yet. There were like batches of items that were added over time as they were completed. So right now I have the playground items, but I didn't have some of the pool things. Another item that I'm going to be adding here in a little while is there is a new slide, and there is also archery. Those were things that I really needed to include here. I don't actually remember if the slide was required or not. It was just playground equipment, and the slide is a new item. So I do have a slide. I also have some swing sets that are going to be added to this park, but I think that's a little bit later. Right now I'm actually changing the swatches of the playground equipment, as I really wanted to play around with the different options. And I did go with the light wood with the bright blue tealish looking slides. I just thought it was really striking, and everything else that I've built with this pack, the other two lots, which one of them should have been shared already at this point, which was Camp Gibbi, and then the other one is one of the lounges for the pack. Both of those have a much darker dark wood color scheme, so I really wanted to play around with a light wood for this particular park, and I was glad I did that. I think it came out so cute in the end. Anyway, I think we are about to start working on some of the landscaping. I was trying to figure out what sort of plants I wanted to place down, and I'm fairly certain this changes a few different times, as I don't end up actually having that much greenery under the actual playground. I end up just having, I think, a palm tree in the middle of it, and most of it is gravel and like wood chips and stuff like that, which is what my experience has been in parks that have playgrounds. So I do move most of those plants, and it ends up being a lot more structured, but I did keep this in to show you some of the earlier versions that I worked on of this park. And also the whole placing plants without move objects, because that is so uncomfy for me, but it was a nice challenge, and I am just so thrilled that I got to create this. So like, it's totally fine that I couldn't use cheats, but I am excited to post some builds sometime soon using this expansion where I can use cheats, and when I can use all the other packs as well. I'm very excited about that. Let me know if there's anything in particular you would like to see. But yeah, I'm just playing around more with this landscaping and seeing how I could potentially frame in these couple of benches. I thought that they could be the benches like parents sit on to watch their kids. Those were on the side of my park, and my grandma was always sitting over there reading a book, and she also had like a bag of snacks. So we would be up there playing on the playground. Honestly, I would take our Tamagotchis and slide them down the slide. And when I say Tamagotchis, I wasn't allowed to have one, but I had the McDonald's toy Tamagotchis. And for some reason, I thought it was the funnest idea to just let them go down the slide. And then I'd run over to my grandma and I'd get some Pringles. It was the whole thing. So it was just nice thinking about all of those memories while creating this space. But yeah, just continuing playing around with some of the landscaping. I have 3 picnic benches now. I'm only going to end up having 2 in the end. They're going to be in that general area, but they're going to move slightly because this is actually my first version of the lot. When you're working on something like this, you have meetings every once in a while and you submit versions of the lot and then you're given feedback on it and then you get to go back and make changes. So this was before I ever submitted it. So this is just my initial playing around with where I thought things could go. And speaking of that, the back corner is actually where I'm going to be putting down our archery. There ends up being 3 archery spots back here. And that was another thing I was really excited that I got to work on this pack for. And 2 of my lots do have archery included because I was in archery club when I was in high school. I was always very much into that. I haven't done it in years and I would really like to. I, unfortunately though, live in an apartment. So I guess I would have to find like an archery range or something if I wanted to explore that hobby again. But I think it could be really fun. So yeah, there's archery in the back. I also wanted to grab some monkey bars from base game, and they're actually going to be in the front over here. And that's going to be where the slide is as well. Where the current bathrooms are, I'm going to be moving that, and that will be where the swing sets are. And I also thought it would be nice to have a couple of planters out here. And those are going to move too, but I liked the idea of having that as an additional activity. But here you can see I deleted a lot of the terrain paint and I'm going through and moving a lot of the flowers and rearranging this layout because everything was just a little bit too towards the middle of the lot and I wanted to make sure that the whole lot felt like it was being utilized. So I moved the pool back a little bit and I am figuring out a different color for the monkey bars and getting rid of a lot of these plants so I could reimagine the landscaping. It was really cool going about how I thought some things should work and then getting feedback from the team on how things should function in game or like better layouts, because just when you're building things for yourself or just to post videos about or upload to the gallery, you're not getting that immediate feedback on layout and all of that. I mean, I guess you do when you stream content, but it was really cool viewing it through the Sims team's eyes and getting the feedback on how I was creating everything and making sure I included all of the items and like the feedback to make sure it wasn't all center in the lot was so helpful. And I think it actually made this park look so much nicer. So I'm very, very pleased with that. But there are those swing sets. We also have a slide. And then I did create a little sand pit over here, or sandbox. I don't know why I called it a sand pit. Anyway, maybe because I was thinking of fire pit. But we do have the functionality with sand being able to be played in. I think that might be just with Island Living, but I might be wrong on that. But I put down sand and there's going to be a couple of toys that are included in there as well. And then I'm adding some more palm trees as they are very prevalent in the world of Gibbi Point. I thought that they were so, so pretty. I considered adding an imaginary friend doll down here, but I decided not to in the end, as I thought that that was something more so your Sims would get on their own versus finding one at the park, although that's an interesting storyline. But here is the diving board. I almost called it a jumping board. I am so glad we finally have one of these in the game. I think in the past we've only had diving platforms. I think there's one from Get Together and maybe another one from another pack, or they might just both be from Get Together. But having a proper diving board is so nice. And then there's a couple of loungers by the pool. And now I am finally working on some of the terrain paint that's actually going to be in the final version, which is like this like pine chips underneath the playground, and then it's lined out with some gravel, which is very much what it looks like at my childhood park, or what it used to look like, I should say. I would love to know if this is reminiscent at all of your parks that you went to as a kid, or the ones that are near you now. Was there a lot of gravel and pine chips, or was there a pool at all? Mine did not have a pool. Swing sets. I would love to know if this is something that is a universal experience, or if you're excited to be able able to create some of those parks in the game now that we have these items. I feel like I have so many ideas buzzing around. Anyway, adding down some more palm trees and some more landscaping, trying to figure out the new layout I'm going to have here since I did erase all of the original terrain paint and move all of the plants. And there's actually going to be a lot of plants that frame out that deck where the pool is. And I end up having shrubs there, which I think looks really nice and way more structured than what I had before. But I'm still playing around with the terrain paint now, trying to figure out where everything is going to go, as I really wanted it to feel like there was all of this pre-planned out space on where like the tables and stuff would go with the correct type of flooring. So just playing around with that now, and then also making the gravel around the playground a little bit thicker of a border. And suddenly I felt a lot better about it, and I decided to create a border like that also around the other playground equipment, and I'm going to be filling that in with the chips in here as well. It's kind of wild how much terrain paint can really transform a space. I feel like this is starting to come together so much more now, having some more of the terrain paint down and figuring out the layout with it, having the thicker border between. And I'm going to be continuing that around a lot of the other items on this lot to really make it just feel cohesive and that everything goes together. But first I'm adding some dirt around where the pool is. And then I'm trying to figure out some of the space around the picnic benches as well, which are also in front of the pool. And this is where I start grabbing down some shrubs and realizing that this is going to look a lot better to have more of a structured moment around this area. Some of the rest of the lot is more like natural placed plants, but I thought having this be a little bit more structured looked better. And it was a little finicky, as you could see. I did need to move things around ever so slightly because of not being able to use move objects, so they could only overlap ever so slightly. So I was limited to where I could place them to get them to actually surround the pool the way I wanted to. And this is where the planter boxes come back into play in the front of the lot instead of behind, to fill in some area over here and allow your Sims to kind of create a community garden if you'd like. And the bathrooms are over in the front as well. And then I am moving them again. I keep moving them back and forth as I try and figure out the best placement for them. And then I'm just adding the chips around there and also our gravel. And then I'm just continuing that around the sandbox as well and getting rid of those flowers or moving them slightly off onto the grass. I like how structured this all looks, like it was planned out very meticulously, even though, as you could see, it wasn't. It took me a really long time to get to the finished product, and I'm glad I stuck with it. This was one that did take a long time to figure out, but I'm really proud of it, and it's so cool that I got to create so many community lots for this pack. I said this in the other video, but I would not say community lots are usually my strong suit, so I was very intimidated going into this process of only creating community lots that everyone is going to see, but I think they came out pretty good in the end. Anyway, I just placed down a sign for the front of the park, and I'm getting some more trees and landscaping around it. I did want to include trees other than just palm trees, and I really think that helps to make this whole space come to life, as there are other trees in the environment. And that's usually how I figure out my landscaping, is I see what is in the area off lot and try and replicate that on the lot. And then I also decided to make the dirt a little bit messier and bring in some of that gravel, because I think it's pretty realistic that it's all not going to stay exactly where it would be when there's kids running around. It's going to get kicked up and be a little bit messier. So I did want to include that. And then here in the sandbox, I also added some other toys. And then I am moving the pool around a little bit because I finally have access to the new water slide, and I wanted to add that down. And so I moved the chairs around a little bit, and we're going to be also including the diving board here that I had before, but in a blue swatch. And then I'm just trying to figure out the best placement for the chairs so that everything can be here. But I also had it not feeling too squished together, if that makes sense. And then I had to adjust the bushes as I changed the shape of the deck. So back to the fiddling with that to try and make sure they all fit without move objects. And if I'm remembering correctly, this actually took a while because I guess the shape that I have now is a little bit harder to adjust for based on what I had before. So I'm just moving everything up and trying to make it so it still matches up on the corners at the same spot. So I'm moving so many of these bushes around. It works out fine in the end. It just takes me a little bit. And I think that's most of what is in this park. There's going to be a couple of things that I change last minute, like I didn't add lighting for nighttime to lighten it up. So we are now doing that. and moving things accordingly to make sure everything fits, so you can see if your Sims do pop by the park at night. I feel like I could imagine my teenagers doing that and playing on the modular playgrounds. That could be so fun. But that is pretty much it for this build. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. You can also subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more, and click that bell to be notified when I upload. And a massive thank you to my YouTube members for your continued support. If you'd like to become a member yourself, you can click the join button below the video or the link in the description. And thank you in advance if you use my code Gryphi at checkout when picking up Adventure Awaits. Please enjoy the screenshots, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye, everyone.